So what did you study?
I did my master's in manufacturing engineering and management from the NSW.
Okay.
Yeah, it involves a lot of maintenance techniques, maintenance theories, how do you manage a shop floor, mostly a production side. And also, it deals a lot about robotics, automation, and the associated costs with it.
Okay.
Yeah, all theoretical.
So why did you choose to study that? Did you have like a background in logistics, or was there something that prompted you to follow that vertical?
I understand. My bachelor's degree was in aerospace engineering, and one day we were taken to this massive production floor back in India. They were manufacturing aircrafts, and they were integrating all these automated components into it. This sort of inspired me to move into the manufacturing side, see what happens on a manufacturing site, production floor.
Yeah.
How are the people managed? How are the equipment? How is the equipment managed?
Yes.
And what are the hidden costs, associated costs? All this have inspired me to sort of move into the manufacturing engineering side.
So I guess from a cost component, like you've brought that up a couple times.
Yes.
What have you discovered in studying automation about that piece? What are you able to sort of influence from a cost perspective?
Firstly, automation, like installing an automated piece of equipment, deals with a lot of capital investment, and there's a lot of hiring and firing. These are also the associated or hidden costs with the automation. And what are the costs that are associated? Sort of maintenance costs and capital, other costs. So can I ask you to repeat your question again?
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to drill down on is one of the costs that you just mentioned was the impact that automation has on labour.
Yes.
If you look at facilities that you've been a part of, that we've been on site together with, you see where they're implementing automation versus the places that are running on a more traditional model. The footprint looks entirely different in terms of infrastructure. So it looks like a huge investment. But then also what's impacted is there's a lot less bodies in the section with automation. So are you noticing immediately when you implement an automation initiative in a plant that the workforce changes overnight? Like, what does that look like?
That's a huge change if it was done overnight. There's a lot of jobs going away when automation is implemented, and especially the middle class to lower class jobs. And there's a lot of jobs opening up in fields of maintenance and services for the automation equipment. This really has a huge impact on the jobs that the lowly skilled people do, and it even puts a bit of pressure on the higher management as well, in terms of finding the right candidate to do the perfect job when the machine, for example, when a machine breaks down. This all takes a lot of time and effort and a lot of money as well. So at the end of the day, automation is in my opinion, it is good if it is implemented in high risk jobs, such as construction or forging industries or manufacturing industries. But it doesn't to me feel right when even the small hand-to-hand or daily jobs are automated.
It's creating an entire new type of maintenance team. What do those roles look like that are being created?
Those roles, in my experience, they demand the person or the technician or the employee or the particular employer with a particular skill set needs to be present on the site and constantly doing preventive maintenances or corrective maintenances. It sort of, I think it depends on how the management put the people on shift, like how they allocate their shifts, and if the shifts are allocated properly, then there's the pressure on the technicians or the field maintenance technician guys is lifted off.
Yeah.
And yeah, it feels like there's a lot of pressure, and also the guys, they pick up very soon as well, based on their previous experiences or their qualifications. Yes.
So I guess it's creating this this new skill set that needs to be acquired.
Yes, with the emerging automation equipment or the upgrades in the current systems, yes, even the current technicians at a particular site, they need to keep up with the current technologies as well.
When you and I have seen these things together, they've been on a really large scale, I think you'd agree. Is that always the case? Yeah, with the sites like those that are into customer service, they always have to be massive because they're not dealing with 10 or 50 or 100 people, they're dealing with the whole nation. And they have to have rigid, complex systems for them to manage with all the output and creating a lot of value for the customers. And yeah, it is a must, I guess. Yeah, in my opinion, yes. When you look then at smaller operators that are doing logistics on a smaller scale, is there a way for this automation to be scaled down?
It could be, or it could be. It couldn't be. Depends on the type of industry. For example, warehouses, they're already automated with. For example, few warehouses in Sydney, they're already automated with computer systems or hand RFID scanners. They're good, but they still need more people to work for them, or lift the weights, or lift the boxes and ship them to the customer. They still need a lot of people in there. Scaling down these big automation systems to a very small level, it takes a lot of time, because also the smaller logistics companies, they cannot be able to afford those huge costs of implementing the automotive equipment. Yes, they might try to replicate it in few ways, but I don't think they'll be. It depends on the managerial decisions again as well. Like, do they really have the need to implement a new system? Are they really trying to eliminate few human errors within the company? They have to look at also all these sort of points too.
Really a very niche.
I'd say it's in its infancy.
Okay. Okay.
Still developing. It's like a trial and error situation at the moment. That recently we've seen that Coles and Woolworths, they're implementing all those self-checkout systems more, and they're getting rid of people up to the managers level within the shops. So it's all a trial and error basis at the moment, and it's picking up slowly, but it takes a lot of time.
So we've spoken a lot about the logistics space and how automation is impacting that. Where else have you seen, or do you see this technology making an impact?
Starting from food industries to fashion or service industries, even making automotive vehicles and airplanes, and I think it's widespread from A to Z, because at the end of the day they want more customer service. All these techniques or improvements are made to keep the humans safe as well. There are a few. On
the one hand is the customer experience,
yes.
To engage the marketplace as quickly, effectively, and as positively as possible. But then on the other hand, the other driver is this WH&S component, which is so important. And if everyone is working towards this zero harm model, that if automation can eliminate a lot of these high risk tasks, high risk positions, that's obviously going to be a net gain as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Is there anything that we haven't spoken about in the conversation around automation that does interest you, that you think people aren't paying attention to, or you think doesn't get enough volume?
The people, the technicians who are working on the automated equipment, they need to have more education about how to deal with these systems. I think it's a major component of working with the automation systems. Like, they need to have the education level, or they have to have the knowledge for them to move on with their everyday lives when they are juggling with these automated equipment. If they're not rightly educated, then unforeseen situations could occur. It could range from small to large. Like, it could cost a whole life, or major cost, or a drawback. There's a lot of factors that can happen if the education is not delivered to the person working on the equipment rightly. Everything starts from the high management, and they just have to have the right skill set and I don't know, maybe knowledge, maybe like, the decisions must be right. And I understand that it's not really possible to satisfy each and every person, but now that we're in the infancy stage and trial and error basis, you just have to look for that small space where you can at least get half the population on the right track into believing that these systems are good.
It's interesting because whenever you see an emerging workspace, like this is as you use the word infancy, this is a new development in logistics. Relatively speaking, automation has not been around forever in the way that it is now. And whenever you have an environment like that, the decision makers at the top don't necessarily have the background in the field, because it didn't exist when they were on their career path. So what do you think now someone in the automation space's career path might look like? Because someone entering the field now might be the first person to ever enter automation and finish their career in automation. This could be the first time that happens. So what does that career path look like at the moment?
It really depends on how they look at it. If the person looks at it like, automation is good and it's going to save a lot of lives and it's going to reduce the time and effort, then he's going to carry on with that mindset and move on. If the person is not up for the task that he's doing, and then automation is going to kill him. It's like a medicine now. We are creating a huge, big drug. If you take it in with the right mindset, it's going to help you. But I'm not really sure to what extent it's going to help the low-skilled people. I mean, people who are just starting with the past traditions of getting their apprenticeships or TA certificates or trade certificates. And also all those institutions, they need to understand the need for these automotive equipment. And it also depends on a company if they're willing to share these ideas with the institutions or the government or the local authorities, because if they don't let these guys know that they are coming up with a system like this, then it's like, I'm saying that what I'm saying is there should be no secrets. They have to let the guys know that these are the systems they're coming up with, and it's going to have a certain complexity associated with it, and you got to be prepared for this. And they have to train the right guys. In that case, yes, guys would have the technicians or the assistants or the trades would have a right career path.
It sounds like what you're saying is the biggest bottleneck to the successful emergence of this technology is that demand for the skilled people to apply it is going to way outstrip supply. And
if we have too many skilled people for one particular job, then it's going to be a problem as well. And I'm not really sure how to deal with that.
Yeah.
Now that we're seeing a lot of, for example, in the software industry, we have a lot of software people, IT people, and there's very few jobs. And I just don't know.